detail, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West. Here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made in first. Then we'll make a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, something that's going on in the community, or some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. That's a good deal. So let's get to it. Story number 1. Warren's old Republic Steel building is off the market. The former Republic Steel building in Warren has been purchased for $750,000 to a Northern California-based company in the packaging business. There are no details on what the building will be used for, but any sign of life economically is what got this story in this week. Story number 2. COVID-19 is slowly killing local theaters. Slowly. Literally. With limited movies to show, Cinema South will be temporarily closing. Theater chains and the entertainment business, period, have been devastated by COVID-19. It's evident. Now, although the closing is temporary, this will affect 45,000 employees' jobs in the United States and the UK alone. Debts are mounting, and Cineworld shares have fallen both in the United States and London. Let's hope that the movie business can hang on and rebound in this pandemic. Story number 3. How did panhandling become a legal issue? Begging for money. Trying to get a few extra dollars for a meal. Some local communities have seen their fair share of panhandling, especially Youngstown and Warren. Well, some city officials in Warren look to try and stop people from asking for money while on the streets, with suggestions like informing people to give the money to nonprofits that deal with such issues instead of giving it to the people. Officials look to tackle this issue with legislation. This story is still developing, especially as drug use remains high and people beg for money to support those bad habits. That's why the story made it in this week. Story number 4. What's brewing at YSU? There is strike talks and some headlines geared around YSU. It seems that YSU's union may not be happy, and this could have something to do with the current financial conditions or working conditions brought on by COVID-19. If YSU proceeds with not pleasing its working base, it could affect the education of its college students. As talks proceed with YSU's OEA, their union, this story continues to develop. Let's hope we hear some good news. But as long as COVID-19 is around, there's a slim chance. Story number 5. Brownfield sites in Youngstown could be in redevelopment plans, possibly. A top EPA official is set to take a look at some brownfield areas if he hasn't already in Youngstown. The goal is to spark development ideas and plans for the WIC 6 section of Youngstown's north side. The city has already received $200,000 from the U.S. EPA. And along with some other loans and donations for the development of the amphitheater that adds on. I didn't even mention the Cavelli Center. So there's been a lot of dishing out of cash in Youngstown. Certain portions of Youngstown's downtown region have sat dormant for a long time, but this could be changing due to mass amounts of federal dollars being spent for redevelopment in the downtown section of the city. This story is another story that's still developing. Story number 6. Aid money comes in handy for Youngstown city budget. Already facing a deficit, Youngstown's financial director credits the COVID-19 Federal CARES Act for saving the city's budget. Portions of the money will go to 6 departments, including the police department, fire department, health department, park department, emergency dispatch center, and the finance department. The keynote in the article states that Youngstown gets about 88% of its income tax revenue from people outside of the city, which shows how the city's revenue could be positively positively impacted if the city could bring in more internal revenue from the people within the city. This is another big developing story. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. Whew, I'm almost there. Polling locations and Board of Elections officials are expecting a high voter turnout this year. One article focusing on voter turnout this year says that the Mahoning Valley is they're expecting about 70% of a turnout to the polls. That's talking about the population, 70%. So that's not bad. Hopefully they meet that goal. It's good to see people exercising their rights in democracy. Some people still don't know how to register. Although many credit the presidential race, some stress that there should be more focus on local elections also. There have been close to about 45,000 requests for mail-in ballots in the Mahoning County alone. Now, even in the midst of political chaos, with what got this story in this week is the fact that some people are waking up to the importance of voting and becoming politically active. It's another big developing story. Go out and vote. It's good for you. Story number 8 in the top local headline and developing news story that made it in this week. Which candidate is good for District 13? Congressman Tim Ryan has held the seat in District 13 for almost 18 years and wants to focus on his experience in Washington by bringing more federal dollars into the valley while also focusing on the job market. Christine Hagan, the young Republican who lives outside of the district but plans to move if elected. She wants to focus on the economy. She wants a bipartisan infrastructure bill to combat regulatory reform geared towards bringing back manufacturing jobs to the local region. She also wants to work with Donald Trump to cut taxes. Tim Ryan says that tax cuts favor the rich too much. Now there's also a libertarian on the ticket, Michael Frick. He wants to bring back troops and end the nation's involvement in the Middle East. He also favors no restrictions on same-sex marriages. Now, he also states that he wants no censorship of tech companies, including social media. And get this, he also supports people's rights to bear arms and discriminating and decriminalizing marijuana. So these are the candidates on the ticket for District 13, and what got story number 8 to the top is the fact that this seat is opened up, and you alone as a voter have the power to vote one of these candidates in. Good luck to all the candidates, and please be encouraged to vote. Well, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Method8inc.com where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program.